Maybe. Yeah, there we go. We should be live now.
All right. Hey guys, welcome back to Super Jeremy World and welcome back to the Two Brothers Retro Games and Tech podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jeremy from Super Jeremy World, and I'm here with my brother.
Hi, I'm Aaron from Blues Tech.
All right. So you can tell we didn't practice that. We don't practice anything around here. So just happy to have you along for the ride. Please drop your name in the chat or say hi. Let us know you're here. And here's our quick agenda for today. We're going to, as always, start with what you've played this week. So if you want to join into that, feel free to drop in the chat what you've played this week, and we'll shout you out. And after what we played this week, we'll get into some news. Tony Hawk Pro Skater, Sega Game Gear Micro, Sega Fog Gaming. We'll do the interact and chat portion, and then if we have time, we'll get to some free-to-play gaming chat. So that's our outline. So Aaron, let's start with you. What'd you play this week?
Honestly, I didn't have a whole lot of time to play this week, but since our last stream, I replayed the first two TMNT games, and I gave them a better shot because I was doing videos on them. And the first one that I super negatively reviewed on our last stream, it gets a little bit of an increase. Not a lot. I still didn't like it. It still wasn't great, but it was better once I switched to using a gamepad. And then the 2007 one, it was good in my initial review, and it was amazing after I switched to a gamepad. So win for win. But next week I think I'm gonna play through my second favorite Star Wars franchise, the Jedi Knight series. So that should be fun.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so you played you said you went back to the first two Ninja Turtle games, so you went back to the NES?
Oh, no. I meant the first two that we were talking about last week. I went the 2003 one by Konami. It was released on a bunch of platforms. I don't remember right now, but it was a very wide platform release, and then the 2007 one as well.
Cool. Also in the chat, if you're around and listening to us, please let us know how the sound is. Last week, Aaron was pretty quiet. So if you've got a suggestion for our voice levels, just let us know. Appreciate it. So what I played this week, so I've got a really fun new toy. I've been looking to get into the handheld market, and also, something that would fit my my retro gaming. What I don't even know what word I'm looking for. Theme, I guess, on my channel. So as I researched the different handhelds and stuff, I was really drawn to Game Boy and looking for something to be able to play a lot of different games, and actually settled on the Game Boy Advance, because the Game Boy Advance can play regular Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance titles. And so I settled on the Game Boy Advance, the wide original model of the Game Boy Advance. However, I did get the upgrade to the IPS screen, so it's backlit.
Nice.
Which is super cool. So you kind of get the best of both worlds.
I like that you got the clear one too.
Backlighting, and then also the widescreen. And then just gonna pull up here. So again, you have just a really nice IPS screen. I know it's like super bright on the video
Yeah, it is.
right now, but I can actually adjust that. That's one of the nice features that I got on there was the ability to adjust the screen brightness.
My
So it actually has 10 levels of brightness that you can choose. And I've just pulled up, this is Final Fantasy 6 that they have ported to it. And I've been playing that on here as a continuation of last week. The other thing that I got with this is the EverDrive X5. And so the EverDrive is a flash cart
Mhm.
that you can play on the GBA. So basically, I was able to load up ROMs from all three of the Game Boy systems that I talked about: Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance, as well as original NES ROMs. And so I can play all of that stuff on here now, and it's just been amazing. So that's been my play this week. Honestly, just going back to see what different games look like on here. I aside from a very limited amount of games that I played on the original Game Boy, I think we had Tetris and maybe one or two other titles. But really limited experience there. So I've got whole libraries of games that I've never played before, and it's really cool to be able to have access to that now. So I'm really excited for that library I've got.
Yeah, that's super awesome. I also like that you got the clear one because I had a Game Boy Color that was the clear model like that, the translucent like bluish color.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I really liked it. I was thinking about buying one, and then this guy on Instagram, Mr. Rontendo, he posted that he just finished it and it was for sale. And so I messaged him and got the price and everything. I was just like, cool, I'll take it. But it was just a great, just a great looking one. The when you do the IPS mods, that's the screen.
Mhm.
You can they a lot of times you can save yourself as a modder. You can save yourself a lot of time by just buying a brand new shell. So that's most likely what this is. So that way you don't have to cut it and reshape the insides to fit the new screen. You can just buy one that was made that way, and so it just feels like a brand new unit, which is also pretty cool.
Yeah, that is sweet. You got me jealous actually. It reminds me of my Game Boy Color and my first Advance that I had. I miss them. Too many.
Yeah, it's a great system, and it's super cool to again, this is the era of games that I'm really into right now anyway. um just because it has I have that Nintendo library. It has some Super Nintendo games. Like I can play A Link to the Past, I can play Final Fantasy 6, I can play Super Mario World, on top of all the great titles that there already were for Game Boy. So really excited for that. And that's been what I'm playing. I've only got it like yesterday, but I feel like I've been playing it all week.
Nice.
So okay, let's move into first major topic was Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Um, so I think why don't you want to kick us off on kind of what was that story that caught your attention?
Well, the new Tony Hawk Pro Skater, I don't remember if it's going to be on the next gen consoles or both the next gen and the current. But the new one that's being made, they are actually going to have aged skaters in them. So like in the first Tony Hawk Pro Skater, the character models were the age of the actual people because, they were young. And ever since then, it's always they're still young, they're still young, they're still young. And now what they're going to do is all the character models are going to be of them in their current age. So like Tony Hawk will be, in his late 40s, early 50s. I don't remember how old Tony Hawk is. That's sad. But yeah, he'll be current age, which is cool. It's cool to get the realism back into games like that.
Yeah, agreed. And so that's exciting. I actually really enjoyed Tony Hawk games that I've played. Um, the Pro Skater series, as odd as this might sound, Pro Skater is not a series that I've really played of his.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was really into Tony Hawk's Underground. I played Thug 1, Thug 2, and then they did what was that other one? American Wasteland. I
Mm.
think was in the same spirit of that, and I really enjoyed those. Uh, the first one had I think the strongest story. Basically, you're just kind of a nobody, a wannabe skater, and you kind of get taught the ropes, and you rise from basically a nobody in this neighborhood to like being invited on the pro tour. Um, and that was a really cool experience, playing that, I think, on the original Xbox. And at the time it was so novel. Like my wife and I both played it. We both loved it so much we even like went out and bought skateboards because we were so into like the game, and it was just so cool to like immerse yourself in like the skater lifestyle. Um and then Thug 2, um it was more silly. It was probably it was a more uh glitch free game. It was a little sillier. I remember being like skating around as like Ben Franklin or something for a while in it.
I remember
um
that.
but it was fun, and still like I enjoyed that style of game. And then I really liked American Wasteland. um and like basically like the whole thing you're like building a skate park in LA, and you have to like you're going and retrieving objects to put in this skate park, and you build it. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't have really say in what goes where, it's kind of predetermined. But it was still really cool, to like see it start from nothing and then you build it into this really cool park. So I really enjoyed that whole series. You have three pretty different games in it, but I would love to see another Tony Hawk game, either either remakes of those or just like a sequel that's going to kind of follow along in the same style of gameplay.
Oh, trust me, you don't want a remake. Last time they tried to remake a Tony Hawk game, it was horrendous. Um, they I don't. I think they remade. It was either Pro Skater or Pro Skater 2 that they remade, and the hate on that game never ended. It still hasn't ended. It's been years now, and it was just that bad. You don't want them to make a remake. Enjoy
Well,
it
and
how it
again,
was.
I started on so that I've started I played those other three Tony Hawk games first, and then I think on Xbox 360 or maybe Xbox One, I don't remember which system it was, that I got a Pro Skater game. um and I just didn't feel it. It was set up differently than the other ones that I'd played, and it wasn't my thing. um I tried Skate also, and
Mm.
that was pretty enjoyable game. But I didn't get as into it as I did with the Tony Hawk's Underground games.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but the different because I haven't played either of them in so long, but the real difference was like one was really in the street and the other was really not.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was pretty sure. It's been a while.
Yeah, so that's actually one thing I noticed in the Game Boy Advance library. They do have Tony Hawk's Underground and Tony Hawk's Underground 2. So I'm going to
Nice.
give those a try, but going from the Xbox to mobile, I'm not sure, or to handheld, I'm not sure how that's going to translate, but I'm going to give it a try and see what that's like.
Yeah, it doesn't always work out so well. Like when they did Driver and Grand Theft Auto, back when they were first starting out, Driver and Grand Theft Auto were fighting and stuff. When they did their primary games were okay back then, but they would port those games to handheld, whether it be GBA or it would be PSP or something to that extent. When they would port them over, they would make them 2D. Like not good 2D, not 2D.5, bad 2D. Like how do you go from having a fully fledged 3D game and then calling it the exact same thing on a mobile or on a handheld and just completely changing the entire game? It didn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't get that when there is a substantial change to it. You'd think they would at least reclassify it like mobile or light or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts on Tony Hawk, Aaron?
Um no, I need to go back and I need to play some. That's my
Yeah,
thoughts. I haven't played them in so long. I should probably go and do that. It's been a minute.
absolutely. And yeah, I like. I think American Wasteland, when it came out, it was the tail end of the original Xbox. So I think it came out on 360 and
Mm,
original Xbox. Um, so if you play that one, I'd recommend the 360
mm-hmm.
version. But I would definitely like if I would say when probably at this point, but when I get an original Xbox again, Tony Hawk's Underground 1 and 2 will both be on my short list of games that I have to have right away.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Chris Tattoo 386 says building your own was the best part, and totally agree. Um, that was amazing, like putting that thing together. And I think they did have they did have modes where you could just totally be creative and build your own sets too, which is pretty cool.
I'm trying to think of a PlayStation. Oh, it was Revolt. A PlayStation 1 game called Revolt where it was you were racing RC cars and you could build your own RC track. That I also liked that build mechanic in where you could just build exactly what you wanted. It was really cool.
Oh, neat.
Hey,
Hey, Pete from Open Every Box is here.
he is.
Welcome to the chat, Pete. So our transitioning from um, Tony Hawk, we're moving on to. So we just talked about the Tony Hawk Pro Skater, Pete, and we're moving on to the Sega Game Gear Micro, which hopefully it's not been completely talked to death. But so you're probably familiar with it. But if you're not, um, Sega, did I say Sony? I can't
I
remember now,
think you
but
said Sega, but now I'm questioning it.
if I did say Sony, I meant Sega. So the Sega announced their Game Gear Micro, which comes in four basic colors. We got the blue, red, black, and yellow, and each one will have four games. They're going to be about $50 each, and they have a 1-inch screen, and they fit literally in the palm of your hand or about half of it, maybe a third of Aaron's. Not sure. Super tiny. So I think for collectors, that could be cool. Like if you're a collector, you want to throw it on your shelf or on the wall. That's great. I just don't see like anybody really playing this like to legit play it. Maybe maybe my kids. they might enjoy it if they didn't have another screen to play. But again, if I'm looking for a handheld, um, I got this really cool Game Boy Advance that
Mm-hmm.
has a very decent screen and won't hurt my hands. Um, so I don't know, Aaron, what are your thoughts on the this micro announcement?
With the micro, honestly, it's a gimmick. It's a freaking gimmick. Like there, whoever thought this up was like, I feel like we're back in the 90s, all right? So in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, everybody was walking around with the little black and white screen, like 1 inch wide, little tiny games, all right? This is that. This is that in 2020. Except for those things were like five to $20. This is that with a price hike. This is a gimmick to get their name out there again, and like I think the only place you're gonna actually see these are in influencers backdrops. That's it, because
Yeah.
it's unrealistic. I've got a PSP that can play every game that every mobile game that's ever been made. So like, why would I want that?
Yeah, and again, I think for the novelty of it, if you want it on your wall, I'm sure people are going to buy it to review it and do videos. But are they really going to play it? No, I mean, there's much more enjoyable things to play. Chris Tattoo says it won't hurt your eyes either. And I thought it was funny. So if you buy all four, I think there's a package. You buy all four, you actually get a fifth like gray model that gets thrown in there that doesn't include games.
If I buy
But
all
then you also
four,
get
they better combine to make a real one. Like
like Voltron.
yeah, all your powers combined, right? Just smash them all together. They create a full size Game Gear. They should have just re-released the Game Gear. They could have made it with the same hardware, and everybody would have been happy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So the original Game Gear, I don't own one, but I had a friend that had one.
I think
And
Jason
it
had one
felt
too.
it was a little bit bulky. It felt pretty heavy. So I think if they made like a half to 3/4 size Game Gear and released it, like call it the Game Gear Classic, and put a bunch of games on there, more than four,
Right.
um,
But like, I don't know,
throw on like 30
4T.
or 40 games, and you could sell it for $100. Sell, I don't know. But that's something that people would actually want to buy to play
Mm-hmm.
rather than buy to collect. So this really, it just feels like a cash grab. It feels like they're, collectors are going to buy this. That's who this is for. It's not being marketed to players. It's being marketed to collectors. Um, I just don't get it.
I will say that, like, okay, so we're Americans slash North Americans, so we have a bit different of a perspective than Sega's primary audience, because we're not it. Like, we're Americans, we think everything's about us, but we're not it. We're not Sega's primary audience when it comes to stuff like this. It's Japan. That's where they've got their biggest monetary value. That's where their biggest client base is. So we have a different lifestyle here in Japan. You have when you have a passion for something, like you do for retro gaming, or I do for like hardware and stuff. It is a lifestyle for them. So like, people who were ultra into the Sega Game Gear are gonna go out and buy this, because like, it's what they're super passionate about. Like, so there may be hundreds of thousands of people in Japan who are really huge Sega fanatics. Like, there's not even a real word in English to compare what their version of a fan is. Like, they have fandom cafes and like theme cafes, and like, the amount of emphasis they have on their hobbies and what they like to do is huge. The Japanese work hard, but they play even harder. they still have arcades on like, every 5 blocks if you average it out in Tokyo. It's
Wow.
crazy.
So in the chat, Chris James T is back, and he said he never had a Game Gear. Actually, never actually played an emulator of one either. But his portable was always Game Boy Color. So same as Aaron, he had Game Boy Color back in the day. And Pete chimed in with you. Open Every Box says, "Yeah, that's right. Sega's the largest fan bases in Japan." There's something I did not know prior to this week, but with the 2 announcements that they made, that became very clear that they're, that's where they are now. Is they're operating largely on targeting that audience. So anyway, yeah. That's kind of all I've got to say on it. I think if it were for the American audience, for players over here, I'd be looking at something like a Game Gear Classic.
Right.
Something like that I think would do really well.
So
even a new console, a new handheld, like a Game Gear 2, that's something they could explore and possibly jump back in.
I think that I found the word for what I was talking about in Japanese culture. It's called Japanese otaku. And direct from Google, it's a term for people with consuming interests. It first started with like anime and manga and stuff, but it has since been translated into everything from like electronics otakus to gaming otakus to computer otakus to sewing otakus. You name it, there is one, and like it's so very intense.
Can you have a taco otaku?
Probably.
If you're a bit like, I'm really into tacos, so
You probably
I think I
could.
could have a taco otaku.
If you had like sculptures of tacos in your house, and like you had taco posters everywhere and taco figurines on all your shelves, yeah, you would be one of them.
Okay, I gotta build like a shrine to tacos, and then I can claim the title.
So my biggest problem with the Sega Game Gear Micro is that their second announcement, which was not even arguably, it was the bigger announcement. Their second announcement, they missed the mark between the two. There's an awesome mark here, okay? Their second announcement was for Sega Fog, and that is basically, it's going to be similar to cloud gaming. So like, you've got a very low-end computer, you've got a tablet, a smart device, a smart fridge, whatever, and you want to be able to play a game on it. Okay, well, if you do cloud gaming right now, you've got really, really bad response rate from the servers because of how much distance it is. Well, Sega's saying that they're going to use all of their modern arcade machines in Japan. Like I said, there's like, if you average it out in Tokyo, there's one every 5 blocks at the minimum. And they're going to use them as distributive nodes so that in your off hours, when the arcade machines aren't being used, you'll be able to use them on your smart devices or whatever. I mean, I'm sure that they would still make you pay either a monthly, or they would make you pay for the same amount you would have at the arcade. But you'll be able to use them as kind of cloud, but there's not going to be any lag. Well, it's going to be approximated at 1 millisecond, but it's nothing compared to what normal cloud gaming would be. And I think they missed the mark with the Game Gear Micro, because what they should have done is they should have combined the two announcements. They should have made the Game Gear Micro bigger, twice the size of that it is right now, and then they should have made it the Sega Fog should have been exclusive to the new Game Gear Micro. So it's a Wi-Fi capable device. It has very low specs, and it can connect to the Fog network, and boom, that would have been amazing for Japan. It wouldn't have been great here, but it would have been huge in Japan.
Yeah, I got a Chris James T in the chat says this cloud thing. I made the mistake not to remember to cancel the free trial to Stadia and was charged for $10 today. Cancel that crap.
Yeah, Stadia is not in a great state of play. I mean, if I'm being strictly honest, I know a lot about the hardware and the technology, and none of them are where they need to be yet. And they're not going to be for probably another 5 years. The technology's there, the infrastructure is not.
Yeah, now I do like, so what I like about the Fog announcement is the metaphor that they're changing from cloud-based gaming to fog-based gaming is, hey, we're bringing the cloud to you. It's all around you,
Yeah.
just like the fog, which okay, I get it, and there's part of me that likes that, likes that analogy. But yeah, I felt very underwhelmed by the way that, maybe it was the way that they did the announcements. Maybe I'm just not the right target for it. I don't know, but just very underwhelming overall. I can't remember the exact word that was teased the week before. If it was going to
Explosive
rile up
or
the
something.
industry
Yeah.
or revolutionary or something.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people got hyped because a lot of people were thinking that, Microsoft was buying out Sega. A lot of people thought that maybe Sega was announcing for the Amico. But, like, this is straight out of Sega's playbook in the last 20 years. Like, they hype you up for something that's not anything, and then that's what you get. Nothing. But I don't know. With fog gaming, there are definite advantages over cloud gaming because one of the big ones is security. With a cloud gaming network, you've got all your data centers in one place to be hacked. With fog gaming, it's distributed across an entire town, across an entire province. Like, you would have to hack every part to get into the system. So it's a lot more difficult from a security standpoint. And the other thing is for arcades that might be cooling down. You can keep talking, but we're having issues.
All right, can you hear me?
Okay, well, we're recorded now. There we go. Now we're back. Now there should be no issues. Theoretically speaking, my friends. Technical difficulties.
Okay. Yep. It says we're back up.
I'm surprised that hasn't happened already before.
All right. Thanks to everybody who who stuck with it. Hopefully we're back for good. I'm not sure at what point it cut off, so I'll just pick back up where I was talking about before. Was just wrapping up discussion on the micros. So they had that pack of 4, and if you buy all 4, you get like a fifth one, and you get a magnifier screen to play the games. And if you do all that, it's about $250. So if you're even considering buying the 4-pack of micros, save your money and buy an Amico.
What the fuck?
That's all I gotta say about that. So the upcoming, so now we'll move into our question of the day, which is our interact and chat. And so if you're in the chat also, there's actually a great segue on my part. I want to know, what is the next console, whether portable or regular full size console, what's the next console you're going to buy or that you're thinking about buying?
That's a tough one. I could go a lot of directions with this. Like I mean, I obviously have to say the Amico, right? Because I pre-ordered the Amico, right?
Sure.
So I mean, there's nothing else coming out between now and when the Amico comes out, so it's got to be the Amico. That being said, at least nothing for me. That being said, by way of mainstream consoles, yeah, no, I'm sticking to PC this generation most likely. I might buy a Series X in like a year or two after the hype dies down and the price comes down by like $100, but definitely not buying on launch.
Yeah. So Pete's gonna buy the black Evercade. I know he's got the white one, and then you have to remind me, Pete. Did you found out about the black one afterward? And then you were pretty pretty upset about that. Are you gonna sell your white one? But you just let us know on that. But yeah, I've enjoyed your Evercade videos. If you haven't checked out Pete's coverage of the Evercade, I think last I checked he had about 17 videos on it. And Chris Tattoo says N64 Mini. Man, I haven't heard anything about that, but that would be amazing. I would be all over the N64 Mini. Pete's also got his Amico pre-ordered. Chris James T, no plans for a handheld at the moment. And Pete heard about the Black Evercade way afterward. Cool, and he's editing a new Evercade video right now. Okay, cool. Yeah, so for myself, the I did. If you didn't catch the beginning of the stream, go back and watch. I talk about picking up this Game Boy Advance with the IPS screen upgrade with the backlit screen. Paired that with an EverDrive, and that's been really awesome. So for handheld, I'm probably good for a while. The Amico is pre-ordered. I got the Founders Edition. So whenever that comes out, that will be here. The big question for me is, do I buy the next Xbox? Because I had the original, I had the 360, got the 360 Slim, I got the Xbox One. So I've still got my original Xbox One, and I've kind of upgraded on Reflex the last few times. So I think I'm not going to do that right away. But Aaron, maybe like you, I may find myself, in a year or two after it's released, where I might, I might buy that when it's at a good price point, when they have titles that are really drawing me in. But at this point, if I'm just getting more like relabeled, I don't know what you call that, like they refreshed, reuse the labels, like here's the newest Call of Duty, here's the newest Assassin's Creed. That was enough for me for a really long time. It's not enough for me anymore, because I look at the cost. When I was out the door, on that Xbox One. So on day one, I got the console, which was $4.99.
Mm-hmm.
I bought four extra games besides the pack in. So that was another $240.
Yeah.
Um, got an extra controller. This is another 60. So we're now 300, $800 for the console and four games and a controller.
Right.
$800 out the door. So, and the amount of time that I've spent playing that console is just diminished so much. You know, I spent hundreds of hours on my original Xbox and the 360, and then probably about the time I got the Slim, the 360 Slim,
Mm-hmm.
um, really started to taper off. And then when I got the Xbox One, man, I don't know, I may not have 40 hours on that machine. Um, so it's it's definitely something where I really need to weigh the cost of
Right.
what that's like. But I said on a chat, I think last Saturday with Generational Gamer, we were talking about this. You know, why folks are buying the Amico over the next gen consoles, and I think I said in that chat, I don't care. You know, I've been an Xbox owner forever, but if Xbox or PlayStation, if either one of those companies will say, "Hey, we're making our entire uh, library from PS1 to current or from original Xbox to current, they'll all be backwards compatible with the new system." The first company to do that will have my money.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm into retro gaming, and that's retro now. Like that's 20
Yeah.
years ago, 25 years ago. Um,
You don't even
so there's a
have to
lot of great
remaster the
titles.
games or anything, or bring them up to modern. Leave them how they were. Just let us play them on the new console, right? Like,
Yeah,
I want nothing more than to be able to sit on my Xbox One, or in the future my Xbox One X, and play Advent Rising. Okay? I want nothing more than to do that, and to be able to do that. To find an original disc, plop it in, and go. Like, that's what I would like to do. Um, that being said, from my perspective, it's a little different. I'm a little bit younger. I also come from a different scene, as it were. I'm not from the retro scene, so I know very little about the retro scene. But from my perspective, if you're into AAA titles, you're into AAA gaming. If there was ever a generation to buy, it's going to be the next one. That being said, as I have grown older, I've experienced the same things that everybody else is. You know, you don't want to take time away from your kids. You don't have the time, etc., to play with the consoles. And those are all valid points. For the majority of people who would have already bought the next console, I don't think those are points that are going to be a major issue for the majority of the audience. All of this being said, and I have to throw this in here, this PC right here, this computer, granted, costs twice as much as the Series X is going to cost. This computer will run games faster, better, and it will outlast the entire generation of the Series X by at least 5 years. And I won't ever have to upgrade it in the entire life cycle of the Series X, and I can play any game that is released on any console for the most part, except for like
see,
Sony
that's the
exclusives.
thing. That's the thing. We'll go into a little bit of a PC, uh, PC versus console gaming. Because I've dabbled in PC. I've played a few, but I've continuously been frustrated by the need to upgrade. So like you find out, okay, well this new game that came out now, your graphics card isn't good enough, or you don't have enough memory. Your processor's not great, so you're going to buy a new computer. And you just kind of have to you have to constantly be ahead of or riding that wave. And that's the thing I've really appreciated about consoles is I buy the console, I buy the games made for the console, and I don't
Right.
have to worry about upgrades until until that new console.
And
Then
yeah.
you buy the new one.
And 10, 15 years ago, 15 years ago, I probably would have agreed with you. Because at that point, that was very much so how it was. Very much so. But frankly, the amount of technological increase between now or then and now is ridiculous. You can go and you can spend $100 on a used workstation PC. You can literally go on eBay, buy $100 used workstation PC, and then spend another $150 on a dedicated graphics card. And the graphics card's going to be brand new, and the workstation PC is going to be about 8 to 10 years old, and that's going to play any AAA game, brand new 2020 AAA game on low quality at 30 to 60 FPS, just like your console. And it's cheaper at 1080p.
Okay.
So when I say that this was a $1,200 computer, okay, well, $1,300 computer, I built it brand new less than a year ago. This will outlast the entire generation of the Series X by a large margin. Like, I can, if I wanted to right now, I could take this out to my TV in the living room and I could play any game ever made that's compatible with 4K. I could play it at 4K at 120 frames per second. None of the consoles that are coming out have that capability. I don't care if you're PS5 or your Nintendo a year or two down the road or your Xbox. None of them can do 4K at anywhere close to that. This computer cost me a lot more. It's going to last at least 1.5 times longer than that console. And I also have the added benefit of having a much larger non-exclusive library than buying just Xbox or just PlayStation.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you said, we come at it from two different sides. Because I come from the retro gaming side. Like, I just got frustrated that the PC games that I had from the Windows 98 era, I had the original Final Fantasy 7 and 8, and I had Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, the pod racing game. And I just got so frustrated that they wouldn't work on the newer operating systems. About the time, I don't remember if it was Windows XP or if they went over to 7. I just couldn't find a computer anymore that would run them. And so it's frustrating until you just kind of wait for those games to show up on Steam, and then
or
Steam
GOG
is making them. So you got those programs that'll make them compatible with the newer systems. And so that's, from a retro standpoint, that's been really nice to like start to see some of these games get some love on Steam and other platforms that let you play. Of course, you got to buy it again, and that's the one thing that I really I don't like. And Nintendo is bad about that too. You can buy even back on the Game Boy Advance, you could rebuy original NES games, and I know you can do that in the Switch. What do they call it? The Switch store. I don't have a Switch, but I know you can go and buy those again for the third or fourth time. Because you can't transfer those libraries of games. So it'd just be frustrating to go buy, Mario Brothers 3 for the fourth time. Like, if I've got the cart, like, come on. Like, give me some credit here. Hey, there's Mike from the original Next Level Gaming.
See that?
He is here in the chat, and I just want to say, Mike, thanks for popping in, and make sure you've got it on your calendar. Thursday night, the original Next Level Gaming is going to have their 200th episode or
Sweet.
show. So head over to their channel. I want to say it's 9:30 Eastern. So Mike, if you're still awake, feel free to confirm that. But go check it out. They run a great program over there.
So speaking of games being backwards compatible and not on the computer, I've been recently packing up because I'm moving. You know this, but the audience doesn't. I'm going to be moving soon, so I've been packing and throwing out a lot of stuff and reorganizing. And I was actually going to save some of this stuff for a video, but hey, we're on the topic, right? So I found some games that are, one of them's really obscure. It's called Eliminator, and it was from oh god, my green screen is killing it. It's from 1998, and I'm gonna see if that works still. I found a DVD drive for my computer that doesn't have one. Modern computers don't have disk drives. Okay. I also found my Warcraft 2 for PC as well. So I'm excited. I'm excited to actually install that because I know I can get that to run. And then this was a random find. This was Activision's Atari 2600 Classics, 30 games. So if that works, I would be extremely surprised because that was like very very third party, very obscure. It was released by Activision, but it was very third party obscure software. Let's see. It had Boxing, Chopper Command, Cosmic Commuter, Crackpots, Fishing Derby, Freeway, Frostbite, Grand Prix, Hero, Kaboom, Pitfall, River Raid, Sequest, Sky Drinks, Spider Fighter, Atlantis, Barnstorming, Dolphin, Dragster, Enduro, Ice Hockey, Keystone Capers, Laser Blast, Mega Mania, Oink, Plague Attack, River Raid 2, Skiing Stampede, and Tennis. So I look forward to seeing if I can get that to work. It'll give me a little retro overlap with you.
So we're having a little discussion in the chat about having the optical drives, and so it's funny how little that may be used in the present day. I was just gonna put in the chat, like, I for work I needed to request a laptop that had an optical drive. So what your optical drive, so you're talking about playing discs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's but I use that.
You might want to reconnect. Your picture
say,
keeps
hey,
freezing.
I need a computer with an optical drive, and they didn't know what I was talking about.
What the crap?
And I was floored. I was just like, are we so in this world now? It's we're dealing with Chromebooks and tablets, and they didn't even I don't know if it went out of their memory or what.
No, see,
it's
like,
crazy.
The thing is, and I'm gonna move my camera against my better judgment. I'm gonna move my camera and show you. This is a $1,300 computer right here. There's no spot for an optical drive. And the reasoning behind that is that everything has either gone to download, direct download, or it has gone to USB. So there's no incentive to put an optical drive in a desktop anymore. Like, it was one thing when you took them away from a laptop, but now we don't have them in desktops either. You don't even have a spot to put it in a desktop anymore.
Wow, that's nuts.
Yeah, so I literally have to leave my side panel off.
So we're about to our time. So what do you have coming up on your channel this week?
Ooh, big oof. That's what. This week I
think you have to credit Tommy Tallarico when you use the oof sound.
Hey, Tommy Tallarico did not come up with big oof. That's been a thing long ago.
You have to take it up with Tommy.
We just said his name 3 times. So, maybe he'll figure it out. I don't know. This week, I think that I've got a couple more of the TMNT games to do live captures of. And then I'm gonna also do some for the Star Wars Jedi Knight series, going from Mysteries of the Sith to Dark Forces 2, and then Jedi Knight Outcast, and then Jedi Knight Academy. So the whole Dark Forces series. I don't think I'll get to all of them this week, but I should get to most of them. And then I'm thinking that my why I almost didn't order the Amico video will come out this week as well. I think.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah, I
that should be
remember
it.
you were, because last week you did the why you did pre-order.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, yeah. I did a balancing video like that on my channel a few weeks ago. I did the why I think Amico will succeed, and then also reasons I'm worried about the Amico. So I kind of like that idea.
Nice,
Mike
Mike.
in the chat says, "Oh, nice. He loved the Jedi Knight series."
Yeah, I think they need to make a movie series out of the Jedi Knight series. The Jedi Knight and the Old Republic series. Both of them need movie
Oh
series.
yeah, Old Republic, absolutely. I'm with you.
100%.
So on, if you come back to Super Jeremy World this week, we'll likely have uh, the unboxing and first impressions of my Game Boy Advance with the IPS screen mod, as well as the EverDrive for the Game Boy Advance. And then also have gameplay from my Retro Game Treasure pickups. Did the unboxing video a few days ago or last week sometime, and then I'll get gameplay up for those new titles, and then hopefully have my box from Video Games Monthly coming in sometime this week as well. That's what's coming up for me. Also Thursday, back here we're going to have a live chat about the Amico. So we got a group of guys. Richard Haywood, Anthium Two Tails, me, Aaron are going to be there. Possibly Atari Creep. Um, he said he needs to check his schedule, and I know I forgot somebody. Oh, Intellivision Master from Atari Age is going to come by, and so that's going to be this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, so you can catch us early and catch the original Next Level Gaming late at 9:30 Eastern. So anyway, talking to Miko that day, and then catching Next Level Gaming, both of them on Thursday.
Yeah, it
So,
should be a good time.
and Chris in the chat says both Video Games Monthly and Retro Game Treasure gave him Halo. That's the worst thing is, like, I know I always go and update my list of what games I own, and they both send, you don't have time to update in between. So that's the fear, is they're going to send you the same thing the same month, and then you've got no way out. So at least as Pete likes to put in his videos, you've got good trade bait. So hang on to your extra copy. Anyway, I'm really excited to have you guys. Thanks for keeping us going with the chat. And thanks for sticking with us despite our technical difficulties. That's right, Mike signed up for Retro Game Treasure too, but he signed up right after they went out, so he's got a couple weeks they should ship. So cool. All right, guys, thanks for coming over to the channel, Hook, and checking us out. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Super Jeremy World and Blues Tech. And we'll catch you guys every Tuesday night right back here. So thanks so much. Take care, guys.
Yeah, have a good night, you guys.